Have you ever done all the right money things and still felt tired? Like managing money as a second job that you never applied for. If being good with money feels exhausting, you are doing it the way most people were taught. Today we're talking about the hidden cost of being good with money and why it burns people out. By the end of this episode, you'll be able to spot the behaviors that look responsible on the outside but create burnout on the inside. If you are spending more than you earn, you cannot mindset your way out of that. You have to do the math and stop the bleeding. That can mean reducing expenses, increasing income, or both. Now, let's talk about the exhaustion problem. Part 1. Why good with money becomes a performance. Most people were taught that being good with money looks like tracking everything, optimizing everything, never slipping up, never spending on the wrong things, always being ahead. That's not a financial strategy. That's a performance. And performances are tiring because they rely on willpower, not structure. You end up living in a constant state of, am I doing it right? Should I feel guilty? What if I mess it up? Part 2. The good with money tax. Here are 3 costs most people pay without noticing. Cost 1. Mental load. When money is always on your mind, you're never fully off duty. Even relaxing feels like you're falling behind. Cost 2. Emotional restriction. When the only way you know how to save is deprivation, you build backlash. You might hold it together for weeks and then snap. Part 3. The difference between responsibility and rigidity. Here's the pivot. Responsibility is calm and clear. It uses numbers as information. Rigidity is anxious. It uses rules as control. Responsible people can adjust. Rigid people break. The goal is to build a way of managing money that is sustainable, one that still works on a messy week. So what does a sustainable way of managing money actually look like? Because it is one thing to say your system should be easier. It is another thing to know what to change. Managing money should not require constant attention. You should not need to check your bank balance 5 times a day. You should not need to record every purchase in 3 different places. And you should not need a spreadsheet so complicated that opening it feels like reporting for a second shift. The purpose of managing money is to create more clarity, not more administration. But many people have been taught that being responsible means paying attention to everything. Every transaction, every category, every small saving, every possible financial decision. I understand why. There have been times in my own life when I believed that the more closely I monitored everything, the more responsible I was being. But eventually, the system itself becomes exhausting. There were too many things to update, too many decisions to reconsider, too many opportunities to feel as though I had done something wrong. And that is when money management stopped being a useful tool and started feeling like another job. The way out is not to stop caring about money, it is to simplify the job. Step 1. Give money a set appointment. Start by choosing one set time to check your money each week. Not whenever anxiety tells you to look. Not every time you buy something. Not randomly throughout the day. Choose one regular appointment. It might be Friday morning, Sunday afternoon, the evening before you get paid, or the morning after you get paid. The exact time matters less than the consistency. During that check-in, look at 4 things. What came in? What has gone out? What is due before the next check-in? And is there anything that needs your attention? That is enough for a normal week. You are not conducting a full financial audit every 7 days. You are simply checking that the system is working. You might notice that the groceries were higher than expected, or you might see that an annual bill is approaching. You might realize that a subscription has renewed that you no longer use. You deal with what needs action, make any necessary adjustments, and then close it. The behavior change here is important. You are teaching yourself that money has an appropriate time and place. You do not need to carry it around in your head all week. Here is a question worth asking. Are you checking your money to stay informed? Or are you checking repeatedly because you are hoping the numbers will make you feel safe? Those are not the same behavior. One creates clarity. The other can become another form of anxiety. Step 2. Automate the decisions you have already made. The next step is to automate the important things where you can. Every useful action that happens automatically is one less decision you need to remember. That might include your rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, minimum debt repayments, savings transfers, investment contributions, or money being transferred into an account for annual or irregular expenses. The goal is not to automate every dollar. The goal is to automate decisions you have already made. If you have already decided that a certain amount should move to savings each payday, there is no benefit to making yourself reconsider that decision 26 times a year. Set it up once, review it occasionally, let it happen. The same applies to bills. When possible, arrange for the predictable bills to be paid from a dedicated bills account. Then make sure the account receives enough money to cover them. This is where basic financial literacy and behavior work together. Automation is not magic. You still need to know what the bills cost. You still need enough money in the account. You still need to review changing amounts. But you no longer need to remember and manually perform every action. And that reduces the mental load. Money has a job before life gets busy enough to spend it everywhere else. If you're finding value in this episode, please subscribe. It helps the channel reach more people who want practical, grounded money education. And it lets you know when the next episode is available. Step 3. Focus on costs that actually move the needle. This is where money management can become strangely unbalanced. People spend enormous amounts of attention trying to save small amounts of money. They compare supermarket prices for 20 minutes. They feel guilty about buying lunch. Or they drive across town to save a few dollars. Meanwhile, the largest costs in their life continue without being reviewed. Your housing, debt, transport, insurance, and recurring financial commitments. These usually have far more influence over your financial position than whether you saved $20 this week. That does not mean that small spending never matters. Repeated small purchases can absolutely add up, but the large, ongoing costs create the structure you are living inside. If your housing consumes too much of your income, cutting out coffee will not save your underlying pressure. If you are carrying expensive consumer debt, saving a few dollars at the supermarket will not compete with the interest being charged. If your car payments, fuel, insurance, maintenance, and registration absorb the largest part of your income, cancelling one streaming service will not transform your cash flow. So start with the costs that have the greatest impact. List your housing costs, debt repayments and interest rates, transport costs, insurance, subscriptions, memberships, and other recurring commitments. Then ask yourself, do I still need this? Could I reduce it? Could I renegotiate it? And does this cost support the life that I actually want? Some expenses will stay exactly as they are, and that is fine. The purpose is not to cut everything. The purpose is to stop giving small purchases all of your attention while your largest commitments run quietly in the background. Be honest. Are you spending more energy managing small purchases because the bigger decisions feel harder to change? It is easier to criticize yourself over lunch than reconsider a car, housing arrangements, or long-term commitments. But one meaningful, recurring change can be worth more than months of tiny sacrifice. Practical financial minimalism. This is where minimalism becomes practical. Financial minimalism is not about refusing to spend money. It is not about owning nothing. And it is not about making your life as small as possible. It is about reducing unnecessary complexity. Fewer accounts that all perform the same function. Fewer subscriptions you barely remember signing up for. Fewer payment plans. Fewer possessions that require storage, maintenance, insurance, repairs, and replacement. Fewer budgeting categories that need constant adjustment. Fewer apps telling you different versions of the same information. The simpler the system, the easier it is to understand. And the easier it is to understand, the more likely you are to use it consistently. This has been particularly important for Matt and me while house sitting, traveling, and living in a van. Our location changes, our routine changes, some expenses change, but the core system needs to remain portable. We cannot rely on a money routine that only works in one house with one schedule when every week looks the same. A portable lifestyle needs a portable money system. Income comes in, bills are covered, money is set aside for future and irregular costs. Everyday spending has a clear boundary. The system is checked regularly, then we get on with our lives. That is the point. Your money system should support your lifestyle. Your lifestyle should not revolve around maintaining your money system. Step 5. Leave room for what you genuinely value. Some money systems become exhausting because every enjoyable purchase is treated like a failure. You spend money and feel guilty. You avoid spending and feel deprived. Then eventually, the restrictions create backlash. A sustainable system needs room for spending you genuinely value. That might be travel, books, hobbies, fitness, eating out occasionally, time with friends, or simply buying a good cup of coffee without feeling the need to hold a disciplinary hearing afterwards. The amount still needs to fit your circumstances. You cannot spend money you do not have and call it intentional. Once your important commitments are covered, you should be able to use the money you've deliberately allocated for enjoyment. That is not financial irresponsibility. That is planning. A good system helps you distinguish between 3 things. Money that must cover commitments, money being used to build future stability, and money you can intentionally enjoy now. When those categories are clear, every purchase does not need to become a fresh moral debate. Your simple reset. So how do you change your behavior so money stops feeling like a second job? Do not try to improve everything at once. This week, choose 3 actions. First, set 1 weekly money appointment. Put it in your calendar. Second, automate 1 useful action you currently perform manually. It could be a bill, savings transfer, debt payment, or contribution towards an annual expense. Third, identify your largest recurring cost that has not been reviewed recently. Do not immediately cancel it. Just review it honestly. Those 3 actions begin changing the system. 1 set time, 1 automated decision, 1 meaningful cost reviewed. That is much more useful than promising yourself that you'll pay closer attention to everything. Because the goal is not to think about money more. The goal is to build a system that requires less attention while still producing better decisions. Managing money should not feel like a second job. You do not need to watch every dollar every day. You need to know what matters. Check your numbers at 1 set time. Automate the important decisions where you can. Focus on housing, debt, transport, and recurring commitments before obsessing over every small purchase. Simplify the number of systems you maintain and leave room for spending you genuinely value. Managing money should create clarity. It should reduce uncertainty. What is the most exhausting part of managing money for you right now? Checking your accounts, tracking spending, remembering bills, or feeling guilty whenever you spend? Let me know in the comments below. Next, YouTube suggests you might enjoy the episode on screen now, wherever that might be.